Hi everyone, today I'm going to go over some command line prompts using the program Terminal on a Mac or the command prompt on a PC. As I was going through the tutorial for GitHub and Git, I realized that in the past when I had taught this, we'd already talked about the terminal, and so some of you might be confused about exactly what it is, where it is, what it does. These are programs that allow you to speak directly to the computer to give it different types of commands. Many of the things that we're already used to doing, say in our Finder, things like being able to search, being able to change to different folders, being able to create files, being able to remove folders and files. These are things that sometimes we have to do in the command line because certain programs require you to run commands on the command lines. And you'll see that in Git, but I want to give you some of the basics before we get into that of navigating around the terminal. So to find the terminal, if you go on a Mac, go under Applications, Utilities, and you'll find Terminal. And I already have mine open. On a PC, it may be in different places depending on what version of Windows you're using, but it should be under Start, All Programs, Accessories, and you'll find something called Command Prompt there. The command prompt on Windows is not exactly the same as what I'm going to show you here. It's not as robust as the terminal, so we may have to do some Googling to determine the differences between the two if you are using a PC of some sort. So here is the terminal, and when it comes up, it has your username. Basically your username for your computer. So this is the root of that particular user that you're logged in as. And so the first thing that I like to do whenever I'm anywhere on the command line is to run the list command, which is ls. And that just lists what's ever in that particular folder. So you can see familiar things like applications, documents, downloads, movies, pictures, all the folders that you would normally have under your root. And if we wanted to change into one of those directories, we just say cd and then whatever the one we want, and then we ls that, and then we get a whole list of these documents. Now there are many other list commands that you can use to be able to see more or less of the list, and there are plenty of tutorials online that you can go to if you want to learn some of those commands, like this one from Lifehacker here. It's called a command line primer for beginners, and that will give you the basic things that I'm talking about here and maybe a few extra things. So between ls and cd, that's going to get you most of where you need to go with the command line. Some other things you might want to know is if you need to go back to your root, you're just lost somewhere, you're many levels down, you've CD'd down into your computer, and you want to just get back to your main root, you just say cd, and that takes me directly back to just CRoyal. I'm no longer in Documents. I'm going to cd into Documents again, and I'm going to cd into our coding folder, and I'll ls, and so we have all the lists that I have of all the files that I use for our coding class. If I just want to go back one level to Documents, it's cd ... and that says go up a level. So you can see how you can kind of go back and forth between the different folders that you have on the computer, depending, it's all relative depending on where you are. One thing that you might want to do is make a directory, and that's mkdir. So I'm in Documents right now. If I wanted to make a new folder that's like coding new, mkdir will do that. And if I cd, I can go into coding new now. So you have to always pay attention to where you are, and this gives you some information in terms of what folder that you're in. If we ls, there should be nothing in there. So this is a brand new folder that I made. Maybe I didn't really want to make that folder, so I'm going to go back to the level that it exists in the Documents folder, and if I want to remove it, it's rmdir. And make sure you type the right one in. And now when I ls that, of course, we're going to see a bunch of things, but if we go back up to the C's, we should not see coding new in here. So coding new no longer exists in here. One interesting thing on the command line is if you've run some commands and you want to go back to something you've already done, if you hit the arrow keys, it'll go back to the last few commands. So if I wanted to recreate that CD, I wouldn't have to recreate that folder rather. I wouldn't have to type it all in. I'm just using the arrow key on my keyboard, and this sort of toggles, not really toggles, but it scrolls up and back through the history of what you've done, and you can modify that and run that again. So that's removing a directory. You can actually remove a file as well if you need to. Of course, you want to be very careful with this. So I'm in the Documents folder. I know that I created one called Fake, a new folder called Fake. If we ls that, there should just be one file in it. So if I wanted to just remove that file, it's rm and then the name of the file. And if I ls now, there's nothing in that Fake folder. And I could go up a level, cd ... and now I'm in Documents, and I could remove the folder rmdir fake. And that one is gone. There are other things that we might use as we're working with this. There's a command that lets you actually edit files called nano. I'm not going to show you that right now, but that could come up as we're working on some different things in the program. And then you can go through the Lifehacker tutorial and see what some of the other commands are that might be used. But primarily for changing folders and for listing what's in a folder, that is primarily what you're going to do with the command line. And now that you know how to do that and you know how to find it, I think it'll be a lot easier for you to go through the GitHub tutorial.